So what are we going to talk about?
Well, I'm Kia.
I'm Megan. Hey.
And we just watched The Hunger Games and felt the need to talk about it to all of you lovely people out there. Now this video is going to have a ton of spoilers. If you've read the book, you're good for spoilers, but we're also going to be talking about movie details. So if you don't want to be spoiled for the minutia, or if you haven't read the book at all or seen the movie, why are you watching this? Go read the book, then go see the movie, then come back. Well, if you want to be spoiled.
I don't know why yeah. Although if you ever read those, like, for Wikipedia summaries for movies you never plan on watching.
Point.
So that's for you.
People talk about a movie they're never going to see. Anyway, scale of 1 to 10, I'd give it about a 7.
Yeah, it was, I don't necessarily think that it lived up to the quote-unquote hype, but I don't necessarily think that's the movie's fault. That's, that's the fault of people building it up too much. And for what it was very good.
Hunger Games hypes itself because the fandom is so vocal and so involved. They really want this movie to be great. And it was good. And it was I'd say it was a very faithful adaptation to the book. There were a few notable differences. Like, instead of District 11 sending Katniss bread, they have a rebellion half a book early. Because we can!
Yeah, instead of giving her bread, they're like, we're gonna knock over the things to make bread.
Again, so. Because we can!
But yeah, actually, as far as, like, book adaptations go, it's probably one of the most faithful ones I've ever seen. Because, normally, you just, probably a bad example, but take the Harry Potter series, for instance, stuff gets thrown out left and right, or like, with a book like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter that's coming out, like, they have to, for adapting it to a screenplay, they have to add an antagonist, they have to do all this other stuff, where this one, it looks like, for the most part, they took at least the skeletal framework and input it into the movie very, very well, and I think that's because Suzanne Collins was involved with the screenplay.
Suzanne Collins is one of the screenwriters for this, and since it's her baby.
Yeah, getting her seal of approval on it was a good sign, yeah.
But what's really interesting about this is they take, well, the book is from first-person Katniss' point of view, so not only does that color the perception of events, but you also really get her feelings on things, development for relationships, all that fun stuff. The movie doesn't have first-person feel. It's very much third-person omniscient, as most movies are. So we have no overarching narrator. And we get to see a few things, like we get to see where they plan the games. It's almost like a Tron/Iron Man technology touch screens. It was awesome seeing that.
That was one of the cooler parts of the film adaptation, was actually, getting to see them move, like, almost like a game board
in their way.
Yeah, and do it in real time. It's like, I want a tree to fall right there, and then a couple little things on the control monitor, and then boom, a flaming tree falls right in front of her.
But when they're doing the lovely thing where they're throwing fire at Katniss, they cut back and forth between Katniss running for her life and then going, okay, fire another one on my mark, 3, 2, 1, cut back to a fireball flying
heading
at Katniss.
Straight at her head,
Sir, she's heading for the flank. Well, can we put a tree right there?
Oh, that'd
be
fantastic.
Falls in the forest and she's there to hear it.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting back and forth, but it also, because we have that different point of view, it sacrifices a lot of the character relations, a lot of the depth. You don't get to see as much as you would like in District 12 with Gale. You really don't get to see the development with Peeta, and I think it's hurting there. We should have had more in the cave. You really don't get to see development with Rue. The way she reacts to Rue's death is perfectly, I don't want to say acceptable, that's not the right word, but it's earned in the book. She's really torn up because Rue really became a good friend.
And she reminds her a lot of her little sister, too.
In the movie, they never mention that. She knows her for maybe 15 minutes of screen time, and then completely just...
Well, they do have to rush things, especially since they spend the entire first half of the movie building up the games like they did, as opposed to just, like, maybe the first act. If they had done the first act as, you know, the build up. But then, you know, that would have been really short too, and then people would complain about that.
Yeah.
But maybe that would have been better to have the first act, you know, just all the build up, and then just the entire second and third act be the games. But
I think they could have fixed the thing with Rue with one line. Just one thing saying, "You remind me of my sister." Done. You got that whole relationship explained, at least on Katniss's part.
But, you know, show don't tell, that sort of thing. But, yeah, if they kind of fail on that, then...
But there will be people watching the movie who have never read the books. Mm-hmm. Because, well, why read when you can watch a movie? And that's a whole other video about society, and I'm a reader.
What I thought was really what they should have focused on a little bit more, maybe if they had more time, like I said, if they made the second two acts focus on the games, was actually just the sort of duality that she feels. And they do touch on it, but it's really kind of a central thing in the book is the duality she feels, the part she feels she has to play, as opposed to how she's actually feeling. Because a lot of the book is her going back and forth with, I have to pretend to be in love with Peeta, and I'm starting to...
I can't, but I want to, but maybe, but no.
And we don't really get a whole lot of that.
We don't have an internal monologue.
And for that, the conflict there, it's shown when she's talking to Haymitch, you know, when he's like, you gotta say this, Peeta made you desirable by saying this and everything like that. And so that's shown there, but like when she's actually like in the games, and I don't know, maybe it's a
lots
chemistry
of running
thing.
and fire.
Maybe it's a chemistry thing, maybe it was just too short on time, maybe it was an acting thing, but yeah, or maybe it was just a directorial choice. I didn't really feel like she felt she was conflicted. She just like
was going through the motions. I need to survive. I need to do this.
It didn't. It felt like it didn't feel like she was putting on a performance. It felt like she really felt the things she felt. And maybe that's just how good of an actress Katniss is.
That'll be interesting when they get to the next two books. Now, I feel like we've been dogging this a lot. Things we liked. Haymitch and Effie. Oh my gosh, the casting was phenomenal. I think actually Effie more so than Haymitch. Much as I love Woody Harrelson and I love the character of Haymitch, Effie, at least for the first part of this movie, is this absolutely perfect foil.
Well,
manners! Always the manners. And just talking about the careers, well, yes, they train until the age of 18 and then they volunteer and they're very difficult, but I hear they don't get to have dessert. You do.
Like that
Thanks! Better. We appreciate that. A little bit tea, cake, or death. Well, you get both.
I was going to say, I'm going to go have a cookie.
I know, right?
But,
we get dessert.
But no, casting was great.
Casting was fantastic.
Lenny Kravitz and costumes were
Lenny
great.
Kravitz's Sinnoh was really
It was funny because I actually was looking for the gold.
And it's there. He's got the gold eyeliner.
It's the little things. It's the little things.
It was actually pretty understated, and that's what it needed.
Yeah, subtlety is the key. Actually, their costumes going into the arena, it looked very CG. But when she was spinning around on stage, that looked really cool.
Yeah,
that looked really cool.
The Flames costumes were very well done. Although at the end, the last two costumes, I was kind of getting a Beauty and the Beast thing. And the blue
with
suit,
the yellow dress,
and then the big fluffy yellow off-the-shoulder dress, and her hair done in ringlets, and I'm like, oh my god,
it's Disney.
Does the Capitol have Disney? That's what we're calling this review. Does the Capitol have Disney? That would be terrifying.
Oh god,
Speaking of terrifying, what they did with the mutts. This is one of those not sure how to think. It's book translating to movie. The one thing that got me, and I was laughing about this at the most inopportune moments, whenever they sent her medicine, the burn medicine, and then the medicine for Peeta's cut, which wound up being a little thing of salve and not a syringe.
I was going to say, which ended up...
they pulled it out, she'd open it up, and it was body glitter. It was brown or purple body glitter. I'm like, we have sparkling medicine. And she goes,
only in the Capitol.
Only in the Capitol does your medicine sparkle. It's great. Yeah.
Unless you're a vampire doctor.
Yeah, I know, right? Edward Cullen, it's a skin condition.
No, Dr. Acula. Dr. Acula.
But, yeah, you kind of have to find the little things to laugh at, and me and my sarcastic mind, that was that. But I'm off topic. The mutts. Not the same as they were described in the book. I was expecting more of wolves. These were more like giant pugs.
Yeah.
But it turned into a horror movie at that point, because you got two teenagers alone in the woods at night with something stalking them. And I'm just like, climb a tree. She goes, it's the forces of evil. You can't climb a tree. It doesn't make a difference.
If you're in a horror movie and you're a teenager in the woods, at Camp Hunger Games, apparently.
Camp Hunger Games.
It doesn't matter where you are, especially if you're in an Evil Dead-esque scenario. And so she's like, climb a tree. I'm like, that's not going to help, in all honesty.
So, yeah, no, it won't. And then when the mutts did show up, I jumped. It was a jump scare.
Yeah, it was a jump scare. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. And actually, the camera work for this, the shaky cam is really off-putting at the beginning.
Distracting, yeah.
Because there's a lot of shaky cam at the beginning.
We're in a Jason Bourne movie!
Here's District 12. Here's the woods. We're hunting. She pulls the bowstring back against her lip. You'd think that would rip her lip off after the first time.
Ouch.
But it shows what I know about archery.
I was gonna say, I'm not an archer, I'm not going to judge.
The camera movements were actually much more fitting when we got into the arena, when she was hallucinating from the tracker jackers, when the fire was... The shaky cam worked really well for Katniss's point of view then, so if you can stick with it through the first 20 or 30 minutes, once they get into the arena, the camera work goes a lot better. And it actually... I've heard complaints about the shaky cam used for the fight scenes because people wanted to actually see what was going on. It's a really good way not to show too much violence in a PG-13
I was going to say that's
movie.
how you make it PG-13 instead of
Yeah.
R. Although, like,
Because if we had seen the mutts actually taking out Kato, or if we had seen the cornucopia,
yeah,
or
but if they had
Yeah.
done a 100% faithful adaptation, this would have been R, no questions. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Unless we wanted to show everything off screen, and then nobody's going to be happy. But
Well, what's interesting about that is you can describe all the violence you want in a young adult novel, but there's something about seeing it on screen actually happening to a living actor, or looking like it's happening to a living actor, thank you makeup and CGI, that just makes it that much more real.
a picture is worth 1,000 words. That's what that
It
is.
really is.
But yeah, with all that, yeah, seeing blood, and I think maybe it's just part of like human nature. Actually, seeing blood is a lot different than being told. Actually, there was a Gutters comic about this, about talking about turning comics into novelizations, and they're like, well, let's take Civil War for instance. Like, if you think this is a good idea, do you think this? And shows a picture of Peter Parker taking off his mask in front of everybody. He's like, do you think this honestly has less impact than this? And he holds up a piece of paper that just says, Peter Parker takes off his mask. He's like,
Well,
we'll have it italicized.
Well, but the other thing you have to look at is that well-done prose, well-worded prose can have a lot of power.
It can.
I'm reading Game of Thrones. Your entire mentality can unhinge on a single sentence. And actually, Hunger Games is also very good at that.
Well, yeah,
and the picture's being worth 1,000 words, but that's a pretty darn good 1,000 words.
But that's why we have a banned book list in America. And and actually there is something different with just the way the media is, because visual media is everywhere. You know, you turn on TV and...
We're visual media.
Hello.
Hi, YouTube. How you doing?
But, you know, and when I was little, there were certainly times where my parents would be flipping through the channels, and all of a sudden there was, like, a gangster movie on, and a dude lost his fingers, and then they'd be like, ah! And I'd be like,
oh, don't watch.
I actually remember that.
My parents covering my eyes when we went to see Star Wars. They did not want me to see the hand get cut off.
Really?
Really. But we're off topic. We're really, yes, really. But we're off topic.
Really?
Yes, really. But we're still off topic.
Anyway.
Point being,
yeah.
faithful adaptation, good movie, definitely gives you some things to think about, and it will be interesting to see how they do the second and third movies now that we are getting some insight into things that Katniss does not get to see, and how they'll balance out how they need to build the relationships that you really get when it's from her point of view versus other things the audience needs to see.
Yeah,
So,
that
watch the movie,
that would
read
be
the book, preferably other way around. But that's my opinion. I'm a reader.
Well, if you can't wait for the next 2 movies to come out, then yeah, read all 3 books, and that'll tide you over.
Definitely.
For however long it takes. And I hear they're trying to do that Mockingjay has been greenlit to split into 2 movies, a la Harry Potter and Breaking Dawn. I don't know why you need to do that, because she's passed out. Like,
she's not
for half of the book.
Mockingjay. Oh yeah, it is Mockingjay where she's passed out for most of it. I'm thinking.
Spoiler alert, by the way.
Yeah. Well, that's not too much of a spoiler alert. Anyway, I'm Kia.
I'm Megan.
Thanks for watching. May the odds be always in your favor, ever in your favor. Close enough.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that line.